Oh, this is the email, right? Yeah, you already sent it.
No, I haven't sent
So
it.
send this can you try this one quickly? Yeah, try it. Bismillah. There we go. All right, let's try it again.
All right.
It's gonna work, man. Yeah. Hello.
Cable, is this cable? But I'll send it. Yeah, can you give me the, can you give me the, password of the Wi-Fi?
Video on the phone. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you do have, PowerPoint on your computer, right?
Good.
Okay.
Hey, I think you also have it on your phone, you can send it to me there.
It's gonna be better if I email it.
Email it, okay?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much for your patience. We're having a little bit tiny technical difficulties, but we're going to get started very soon, inshallah. So if you all can be patient, within 5 minutes, inshallah, we'll get started. Thank you. We're going to have to just open mic it.
Bismillah. Yeah. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Yeah.
Is there a waiter? Is that a wait? Tell them. Let me try using my phone.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Sayyidil Anbiya'i wal Mursaleen. Nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So alhamdulillah, we're very fortunate today to have CAIR here for a presentation on bullying and Islamophobia. Inshallah, today you're going to come through a lot of valuable information, very important information to get an idea of just how prolific some of the problems that we're experiencing are, get an idea of some of the resources that are available to all of us. But before we jump into any of that, we wanted to kind of frame things in a certain way, because we understand we're going to be speaking about Islamophobia, speaking about bullying, and what we don't want is people leaving here and feeling like we are nothing but a statistic, right? We are nothing but these numbers of hate crimes or whatever it may be. What we don't want is leaving here feeling victimized, right? We don't want to feel like, oh, woe is me, the world is tough out there, and what can I do? That is not what, what this presentation is about. So to kind of frame all of this, it's important for all of us to kind of remember a few things in mind, right? Some Islamic principles, right? From the first of that is that holding on to this deen, we know for a fact that whoever holds on to a principled stance of the religion will encounter some kind of difficulty, without a doubt, right? One of the surahs that the Prophet ﷺ had us reading on a weekly basis is Surah Al-Kahf, right? On Fridays, we read Surah Al-Kahf. The main theme of Surah Al-Kahf is tests, trials, tribulations, people being tested as youth, people being tested with power, people being tested with knowledge, and so on. But from the first category of people that are tested is that group of youth that is tested by holding firm onto their faith. And not in like a superficial kind of way, like, oh, they called you a funny name. But no, being tested in a way where they say in the surah, إِن يَظْهَرُوا عَلَيْكُمْ يَرْجُمُوكُمْ أو يَرْجُمُوكُمْ, that if they find out who you are, that they may stone you, or they may try to return you back to their religion. So be very careful. So it's not talking about, some kind of, minor kind of incident. It's talking about something very, very serious, right? So holding on to the deen sometimes comes with consequences. It can be difficult. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, there will come a time where holding on to the deen, holding on to the religion, will be as a person who holds on to hot coal. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, يَأْتِي عَلَى النَّاسِ زَمَانٌ الصَّابِرُ فِيهِمْ عَلَى دِينِهِ كَالْقَابِضِ عَلَى الْجَمْرِ كَالْقَابِضِ عَلى الْجَمْرِ. That the one who holds on to their religion will be like the one that's holding onto hot coal. So imagine, just visualize for a moment, picture for just a moment, that you have a ball of fire in your hand. Every part of you wants to release it. Every part of you is feeling the pain of holding on to that hot coal. The Prophet ﷺ says, there will come a time where the person who is patient upon his religion will feel that kind of pain, right? We also learn from a statement of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he says, there will come a time where the fitna will be so widespread. In the past, the way calamities kind of came was, there was X calamity between a finite number of years, and then we kind of passed it, it ended, and now we're on to a different time. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he says, there will be a time when calamities will be so long in their length that those who are young will grow up in them, and those who are already middle-aged will reach senility by the time that calamity is over. He says, كيف بكم إذا لبستكم فتنة يربو فيها الصغير. How will you be when you will be as though you are clothed in fitna? That fitna, calamity, is so prevalent, so much a part of your life, that it is as though you are clothed in it. The young will grow up in that fitna. Sounds familiar? The young will grow up in that fitna. وَيَرْبُو فِيهَا الْكَبِيرُ. The one who's already of age will reach senility. He says, وَتُتَّخَذُ سُنَّةً. And then he says, when does this happen? When will this kind of time happen? He says, إِذَا قَلَّتْ أُمَنَاؤُكُمْ وَكَثُرَتْ أُمَرَاؤُكُمْ. When those people who are trustworthy are few. When those people who are trustworthy are few. وَكَثُرَتْ أُمَرَاؤُكُمْ. You have plenty of people who are in positions of authority. وَقَلَّتْ فُقَهَاؤُكُمْ. But those people who have a deep understanding of the religion are few. وَكَثُرَتْ قُرَّاؤُكُمْ. And those people who recite the Quran are plentiful. وَتُفُقِّهَا لِغَيْرِ الدِّينِ. And people seek to understand the religion, or to gain in their knowledge of the religion, but without a sincere intention, without the intention to please Allah Azza wa Jal. وَالْتُمِسَتِ الدُّنْيَا بِعَمَلِ الْآخِرَةِ. And people will try to attain the dunya with the work of the hereafter. People will try to attain the dunya with the work of the hereafter. So, keeping this in mind, we understand that, of course, holding on to the deen is something that comes with consequences. But those consequences are worthwhile. Those who hold on to the deen, the alternative is what? There is no alternative. There is no viable alternative. فمن زحزح عن النار وأدخل الجنة فقد فاز. Ultimate success is to be spared from the fire and to be entered into the paradise, right? There is no other alternative. It is that we hold on to this, ride or die, right? So what are a few things that we must keep in mind about having this be a reality, that we hold on to our identity? The only kind of identity you can hold on to is a strong identity. a confident identity. That if someone comes and calls your kid some name, if someone tries to insult you, if you don't have that firm identity, you're not clear about who you are, what your values are, and why you hold those values, you can be easily shaken. If you are not deeply rooted, you are easily shaken, right? Think about a plant, one that is firm into the ground and one that has no foundation at all. One will get blown in the wind and the other one will not. We have the example of Salman al-Farisi. Salman al-Farisi, the companion of the Prophet ﷺ. Some of the non-Muslims, they came up to him. They said, your Prophet has taught you even how to use the bathroom. Said, your Prophet has taught you even how to use the bathroom. So he comes to Salman, right? Salman is very confident in his identity. Someone trying to come to Salman and make fun of him because of this, Salman says, not only did he teach us that, he gave us proper guidance how to do X, Y, Z, and he taught us how to purify ourselves with full confidence. With full confidence. That's the kind of confidence we hope to pass on to our children, right? Ultimately, our role is not just that we give them information that they're able to regurgitate. What we want our children to have is to feel a sense of intrinsic value to Islam. That they feel this is important for themselves, not because their parents are Muslims. I do this because this is the religion of Allah. This is my ticket into heaven. This is my road to clarity in this life, right? So building that strong identity is number one. One of the main ways in which we do that, build a strong identity, is with knowledge. If we do not teach our children these things, if we do not teach our children about the deen, if they come to you with a question and you're like, don't ask these questions, right? If you cannot provide to them satisfying answers, convincing answers, or provide to them the resource that they need, you might not have every answer. No one will have every answer, but at least put them, have in mind to connect them to the resources that they need for the knowledge that is necessary for them to be able to convey the deen or to be able to answer the questions that they are surely being asked in school, in university, at work, right? If they don't have those answers to give to other people, they probably also don't have them for themselves. And first and foremost, before anyone else, they need those answers for themselves. And lastly, the thing I'll mention before we go into the presentation is the importance of being connected to a community. If we are living on an island somewhere, and perhaps all of us have colleagues that are similar to this, that you know for a fact they're not connected to the masajid whatsoever. When their child gets bullied, how easy is it for them? The lifeline is already kind of loose. How easy is it for that lifeline to just be snipped, right? If they're on an island, there's no reinforcements coming, right? Who is there to help them? So one of the main ways in which we feel confident for ourselves is being connected to our institutions, being connected to the masajid, being connected to the MSA at school, being aware of the resources that are available. I recall when I was in university that I had a fellow classmate who was Muslim with a very Muslim name, standard Muslim name. Everybody knows, can identify, homie's Muslim. And international student, I don't think in the 3 years that I knew him came to a masjid. He says, I got stopped by a police officer. And I can't think of any reasons why I would have stopped, except that this guy, he just ran my plates and saw that I have a Muslim name. And he says, the first moment I get to change my name, I plan to change my name. And now, he's got your standard non-Muslim name. Think of it as like a Jake or whatever it may be. and completely detached. I guarantee you, I think if such a person was connected to the Muslim community during that time period, instead of being completely isolated on an island of his own without Muslim friends, that was not a scenario that would have been on his radar. So it's important, you hear about your colleague who they said that their child got picked on for this, or they're going through this or through that. It's important that we connect them to the masajid. These are the most beloved places to Allah. This is where you meet your Muslim friends. This is where your children will meet their Muslim friends. This is where education happens, right? So it's very important that, all of these things kind of coalesce, that they come together. All of this is part and parcel of the presentation, right? So it's not just about throwing statistics at you and then going home and being like, oh man, like it's really tough being a Muslim. That's not what this is about. It's about awareness. It's about finding out resources. And it's also about putting everything together so that we understand how we can kind of move forward with confidence. So inshallah, CAIR is presenting. Just want to say a word here. CAIR is a very important organization. If we want to have activism, or if we want to have a legal route to many things within the United States, you need an infrastructure for it. You need to have some kind of pathway for it. So when you say, oh, this person experienced discrimination, and you're not sure who you could go to, this person was approached by the FBI. This person you think is going through XYZ scenario. For us to not have a resource we can go to puts us in a very precarious situation. So alhamdulillah, we do have organizations like this that are, actively serving as a resource to the community. So I'll hand it off to the Executive Director of CAIR, Sister Tahira.
Thank you, Brother Jamali. Your commentary really touched my heart. And it's always incredible to me how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us that at all points He is with us. In the car coming up today with my daughter, we started talking about the risk that happens when young Muslims are disconnected from Muslim friends, from righteous friends. We know that it's a disaster. And alhamdulillah, I am proud to be the executive director of CAIR Massachusetts, where we help to foster fellowship and community in our up and coming young people as a very important component of our mission. Thank you all for having me. Bismillah. Today, I want to introduce our staff who is with me, and you'll hear more from them today. We have Fatuma Muhammad, Anika Abid, Brother Vincent Ware. We are also joined tonight by our board member, Brother Uthman Laden, who I know is beloved here in the Worcester Islamic Center community. We are grateful for the board of the center and all of the congregation for allowing us to be here today. Our mission is to enhance the understanding of Islam, encourage dialogue, protect civil liberties, empower American Muslims, and build coalitions that promote justice and mutual understanding. We are dedicated to serving as a resource for the Muslim community and beyond, addressing challenges like Islamophobia, bullying, and faith-based discrimination. Through our legal advocacy, community engagement, and educational programs, we strive to make a meaningful difference in the lives and individuals and families across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We invite all of you to stay connected with us. You can sign up on our mailing list, follow our social medias, attend our programs, learn about our legal work and our resources. This is a vital time to stay informed and engaged. We are here tonight to share the results of a project that has been more than a year and a half in the making. This project holds a mirror to the experiences of our children in schools, highlighting the ways in which Islamophobia is impacting their lives here in our local community. The data we are presenting has not been publicly released yet, and we are both excited and honored to have you among the very first to receive these findings and the recommendations that accompany them. So you are about to get some exclusive, previously undisclosed insight and information. We hope that this presentation not only informs you, but inspires action. We hope that with this report, you can take action to advocate for your own community, and together we can ensure that all of our children, regardless of their faith, feel safe and supported in their educational journeys. And now, well, I've already given a sneak peek introduction to our key contributors to the project, Anika Abed, our community engagement and advocacy specialist, and Fatuma Muhammad, our youth advocacy director. Let me go over a couple of things that are on our slides. Why did we do the bullying report and create a survey? All right, this is a little awkward to read, but let me tell you. Oh, do you want me to just tell the stories? Okay. Well, I'll just read them. They don't seem to match what's on my paper. All right. So why did we decide that this was an important initiative? Since CAIR was established in 2015, one consistent thread has always existed. And that was parents calling because their children were being bullied in schools. And when we did our first bullying report in 2021, Fatuma then was an intern, and it was a revolutionary piece of work that we did. And in 2025, we are now producing the work for the second time, and she's actually our employee. We are deeply committed to the Muslim community and to children specifically. All right, I'm going to do a couple of highlights before I hand the report over. We have a high school student who was poisoned by a classmate who added rubbing alcohol to his water bottle because he was Muslim. We have a middle school student who suffered a severe concussion after being punched by an older student who had repeatedly bullied him and called him slurs like nasty Middle Easterner. In 2023, in October, soon after the outbreak of the war in Gaza, a middle school student was taunted by classmates who called him a terrorist and a Nazi, and they falsely accused him of carrying a bomb. And that escalated a little bit into some disciplinary hearings, didn't it? And tell me where I'm going next. You'll take it away? All right, I'm excused. All right, I give you my colleagues. Thank you again.
Assalamu alaikum. So as Sister Tahira was sharing, these incidents led to CAIR Massachusetts doing our first statewide survey of Muslim youth's well-being. It's the first only statewide survey, research survey to understand what was happening to our youth. So we are getting these cases and we are wondering, how prevalent is this issue? You know, is it just a few people coming to us? How prevalent is it? So that is why we did this survey. And what we are going to introduce to you today is our 2025 survey. And you can scan this QR code right now to get access to the full report. So our presentation will be going through this report, and please feel free to scan it and go through it and save it so that you can go read it properly. What we want to emphasize today is that this is a report for you to keep with you and use as a resource, share with the teachers of your students, share with the principals, the superintendents, so that you can show that this is an issue that you're not going to let slide. You're going to be paying attention, and you don't want it to happen, but if it happens, you will respond and you will take this very seriously. So just brief demographics of this of our study. 325 Muslim students participated, representing 11 of the counties of the 14 counties of Massachusetts, including, of course, Worcester County. And we also have our demographics of grade, ethnicity, and gender.
Amazing. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Faduma. Some of you might be sitting here. You might be thinking, I am not a middle schooler. I am not a high schooler. I don't have kids. Whether or not you are in middle school, in high school, or you have the kids in our community are all in a man on us. So we are really excited and really happy to be here and to be able to provide, as Anika noted, this report. While it might have some really disturbing information in it, it is a resource for all of us as a community, and it is a resource that now is in a man on all of you to carry with you and to understand what is happening to Muslim students in public schools so that we can make sure to respond. So some questions that we had is, and I would love some response, quick, only engagement I'll ask of you tonight is, what percentage of public school students nationally do you think experience bullying? That's the age of 12 to 18. If we can get some numbers. 13? 13%. Any other numbers? I see a hand back there. 3%? 30%. Okay. Okay. It is actually 19%. 19% of middle school and high school students know that they experience bullying nationally. What percentage of Muslim students in Massachusetts experience bullying? 42? 22%. 22%? You know 22? 4% of Muslim students. What percentage of Muslim students in Massachusetts do you think experience bullying? 29%. 10%? Okay. It is actually 38% of Muslim students experience bullying. And then what the percentage of Muslims who experience bullying because of their Muslim identity? And I want you all to, I know this is a question that's coming, but I want you all to think about, like, why is there a difference, do you think? So the first question that they ask is, how often do you experience bullying? And then 14 questions later, we ask them, how often do you experience bullying because of the fact that you are Muslim? And 48% of them noted that they experience bullying because of their Muslim identity.
So just continuing on, these were our key findings. 48% said that they experienced bullying because they were Muslim. 22% said that they faced bullying related to religion on a regular basis. And 37% said that they witnessed another Muslim student being bullied at school. So, and there was even mention of various forms of bullying, including physical violence. So my question for you is, what do you think are some of the mental health consequences of these experiences? What do you think is going to happen to a student who experiences these things? Okay. Yep.
It's a lot of severe mental health issues. So these students are going to school, they're experiencing all of this thing, and they're coming to your masjid, whether they're in daily Quran school or they are in weekend schools. They are here carrying all of this experience with them. And these are some of the things that they say in their own words of what is the exact mental health impact of the bullying that they're experiencing. You can read it, and all of this information, again, is in that report of that PDF. But one thing I will note is female 8th grader notes that I feel alone and like nobody cares about me. Someone can be bullied a lot and can go through depression, and depression can have severe impacts, like students considering acts of suicide.
And then when we come to the statistics about hijab, we found that 35% experienced physical harassment. So these are girls who have probably, they're very young. They've decided to take this big step in their faith of wearing the hijab. And they should be rewarded for this. But instead, in addition to facing peer pressure at school, they're being punished for wearing hijab. So we also had a case where 2 students faced racial slurs and physical aggression, and they contacted us after one of the classmates pulled off the hijab of one of the students. And initially, actually, the school, so she defended herself. the school opened their eyes when she defended herself, and they thought she was the bully. And it was only after the parents got involved that they were able to clarify the case. So just given these statistics, I want you to think about what would these experiences do to a young Muslima's relationship with the hijab and her relationship to her religion? What do you think that this will cause? And you don't have to, I just want you to think about that, so we don't have to talk about it, but just think about this.
We do hope that you will talk about it amongst your community, amongst yourself as parents and as youth who are going to school. So another important thing that the report looks at is not only looking at peer-to-peer aggression, but also teachers and school personnel. So 35% of students reported that teachers or staff making offensive comments about Islam or Muslim inside or outside the school. And that 22% of students noted that teachers when they taught about Islam, they did so in a way that was not neutral, fair, or factual, and that sometimes like the bullying that students are experiencing, it starts also in the classroom and what is normalized, which is why, again, as Anika noted earlier, it's really important for you all to be able to go to your school committee hearings and understand like what is happening in your students' like classrooms. And one student noted that a social studies teacher informed her fourth grade class that Muslim terrorists were responsible for 9/11, despite the lesson materials lacking any references on Islam. Later, a classmate refused to work on a group project with him, calling him a terrorist. So when the adults are normalizing something in the classroom, then the peers think that that is okay, resulting in additional bullying and discrimination of the student.
So we also asked about students' comfort level talking about their opinions about Palestine in school. Since this survey was conducted starting from like the end of 2023 to the end of 2024. So obviously, as you all probably know, there have been so many stories, so many incidents of pushback, silencing of students in the classroom, especially when it comes to Muslims and Palestinians and people who are calling for justice. So one of the most alarming cases that we received actually just a few weeks ago was that a high school administrator, there was a bullying incident that happened. He or she took a Muslim student whose actually family has been killed in Gaza and basically lectured her on being sensitive to Jewish classmates' feelings, even though her family members were killed in Gaza. And they said to her, genocide happens. So even though like this is something that we are seeing so much silencing from the teachers, I want to share with you some quotes that the students provided about them speaking up even though their teachers and classmates were primarily Zionist. So they were saying, I don't care what people will think. I feel comfortable. It's the right thing to do. One student said, I have freedom of speech. So as long as I don't harass someone, there shouldn't be a problem. So the reason I'm sharing this with you is because we want you to know that these students, they have confidence in their connection to the ummah. We want them to have confidence in their faith just like this. We want them to have confidence in their Muslim identity and be courageous. And also, if you see this, one student is saying, I have freedom of speech. The students knows their right? So that's why they feel confident. They said, as long as I don't harass someone, there should not be a problem. So same thing with what we're doing today. We're educating you on how to respond to bullying, what your rights are as a parent, as a student, and this will basically empower you and give you and your child confidence, inshallah.
Amazing. Additionally, we know that the only form of bullying or discrimination that students face is not religious based, but when you add the compounded discrimination of race, class, immigration status, all of these things are impacting the ways that students experience personal relationships and schools. And over half of the students, specifically 52% of the students who took the survey, reported experiencing bullying due to their ethnicity and race. I'm going to run through this real quick. And additionally, 10% of the students who responded to the survey indicated that they do not feel comfortable revealing the fact that they are Muslim. And 23% of students reported they have actually, not only are they not comfortable with it, but they are altering their appearance, they're changing their names and their behavior to hide the fact that they are Muslim so that they do not experience bullying. And again, the question that we want you all to think about is like, how might this impact their relationship with their Islam, and their faith and their deen, and then be able to carry that proudly?
So we also, we had many surveys. This was a statewide survey, but we had many responses from Worcester County as well. And we are not going to read all of the statistics, but we encourage you to take a picture. We can also share these with you later. These are the statistics that are specific to Worcester County. And I just wanted to have you look at the last point, that only the 39% of students said that if a bullying incident happened, they would tell a parent. So I just want all of the parents to know that there's a good chance that if your child is bullied, they won't share that with you. And to think about that and to think about how we can create a different environment that allows students or your children to feel more comfortable sharing incidents like this and doing something about it. So I'm not going to go through these, but this is just for you to see, take note of, take a picture of.
So the most important thing, as we noted, is that this report is not necessarily to just provide all these statistics, but to provide these statistics so you can use it as a resource. And an important part that's also outlined more in detail in the report is the recommendations that are specific to all the students that are here. I want you all to pay attention. All students that are here, this recommendation is specifically for you, so that you know what to do when an incident happens. So one, it's to document and report the bullying, record incidences with all details, immediately report incidences to your school administration, inform your parent, guardian, or trusted adult, and work with them to submit a formal complaint to your school. And then lastly, report the incident to CAIR Massachusetts. CAIR Massachusetts is here to support you all. And while this is for students, I want all the parents to also be mindful of it, and anyone who works with young people, so you know how to support them. And next is to seek support and establish Muslim student associations in your school. There is power in number. So we highly recommend you all to find each other and to create systems of support. So develop an action plan with trusted adults. If your MSA needs help creating an inclusive community, CAIR Massachusetts, that's why the youth department is here, is to support you all and be able to do that. And then join a youth group at your local mosque or Islamic center. I was saying today, I was so happy to see all of these young people here on a Friday night, because that is the power of all of this, to be able to really support them.
Additionally, students should know that they should advocate for religious accommodations. So this includes prayer breaks, prayer rooms, dress code exemptions, and reach out to us if you encounter any difficulties attaining those. And to know your rights, as we discussed, and advocate for yourself. Your school's handbook is a first stop for understanding how to report bullying. And our report, specifically the advocacy section, is also a resource for you. Understand how to report bullying and report, again, all incidents to both your school and CAIR.
Next, so recommendations for parents, but I will also note, if you are a sibling to a young child, if you work with a young person, this recommendation is only for you. It is not only for parents, but it's for everyone here, whether or not you have a kid or not. So one is recognize the signs of bullying. Notice if your child or the young person in your life avoids or refuses to go back to school. 2, look for cuts, bruises, or unexplained injury. check for missing or damaged personal items, and then pay attention to any changes in behavioral or health. Second, and this is the most important part, and kind of going back to that note of only 39% of students would tell a parent if they're experiencing bullying. So it's really important to respond responsibly and do not blame the student for experiencing bullying. So if you see one or more of these signs presenting themselves, generally inquire if something is happening in schools. Reassure that the young person that the bullying is not their fault and that it is unacceptable. And then C, be open-minded and calm. Many students, again, do not share with their parents if they are being bullied. And then D, be available as a source of support and work together on an action plan to inform school administrations. And again, if you need support with that, that is what CAIR is here for.
Additionally, as we discussed for students, the same applies to parents to know what the bullying laws and school policies are. You can reach out to CAIR for understanding what that policy language is and understanding how to approach reporting bullying. Review your school's handbook as well, and the advocacy section in our report, which is on page 19. Additionally, advocate for culturally competent education about introducing people to what Islam is, and advocating for your child's interests with this knowledge. Using our report, advocate for your children. So when we presented these findings last week to ICNI Sharon, they shared with us that one of the parents said, "I'm in a group chat with all of the parents from my child's school," and this is a very useful resource, because you can basically have a team. If your child experiences bullying or Islamophobia, you now have a team of parents who can work with you to meet with the school, to meet with the teachers and ask for specific things, and encourage the teachers and school administrators to practice cultural humility and be aware of anti-Muslim bullying.
The last portion of the recommendation is for masjids and community leaders. One is to support MSAs and facilitate mentorship. Masjids can facilitate youth programming and mentorship programming, and B, facilitate collaboration between local Muslim students, especially ones who've established MSAs, local college MSAs, and other Muslim student groups. And two is educate the community about their rights, such as having us here today. Facilitate them, familiarize themselves with Massachusetts bullying laws through KRMA's anti-bullying advocacy recommendation. And this can be found on page 19 of the report. And then encourage community members to report incidences of bullying to their schools and to CAIR Massachusetts.
So we keep referring to what this page 19 anti-bullying laws and advocacy section is. This is what the table of contents look like. We're not going to go through this today. Again, there's a QR code if you want to scan it. So this is where you start when if there's an incident that happens. This section clarifies when you would involve the police, if you would do that, or when you would do a harassment protection order or a discrimination complaint against the school, suing, or other restorative justice programs of finding a solution to a bullying. So this is a useful section. We're not going to go through it again, but if you need any help understanding this, you can contact us. And again, please, I think that it's important for like the community leaders, parents to read this section and just be aware of it.
I'm just going to say something real quick. Okay, for the MWAL. Yeah. We're not going to do the video, but we do have a video so one of the big things that we do is not necessarily gather the reports of the incidents that are happening with Muslim students, but a big part of my own principle, but also what I was hired to do, is to make sure that Muslim youth feel empowered and that they have the skill sets, the resources that they need to be able to fully live out their Islam and to not be afraid of being Muslims. And one of the ways that we do that is through the Muslim Leadership Program, which is a 4-day intensive that happens every year in August. And we'll share more details when the applications come out, but highly encourage you all to apply for it, and we'll open it up to Q&A.
So we have enough time for a couple of questions, but please do go ahead.
Also, just so you know, these are upcoming events to stay connected. We have on February 1st at ISBCC a Future Muslim Lawyers program. It's a very unique program that we're going to be having. We already have 12 Muslim lawyers who are going to be present as panelists. So if your children or you are interested in this field, please come. We'll also be having a webinar February 11th again on this topic, and we'll be inviting our state representatives, our policymakers there, and we'll also be having a college student summit at ISBC again. So these are upcoming events. I just wanted you to see them, take note of them as you're thinking of questions.
So last Ramadan, we came here and we collected data, and we're grateful to you for encouraging your children to support that work. And we're happy to be able to give you the statistics that are localized. And we were reminded that when people ask for your feedback and your survey contribution, that it matters, because we couldn't do this without you all. That's number one. And I had another point, but I just wanted to thank the community for opening their doors that Ramadan night. I see them.
So, okay, so if there's no questions, we'll also have a table. Okay, there's.
So first of all, I'd really like to congratulate you guys for doing this work. This is data-driven, information, and it also informs people what to do. At the same time, I also think, to the point that Brother Jamali made and you guys elaborated on, is knowing your rights and also being knowledgeable about things. And may I add, also communicating that in the most appropriate fashion under the settings that you are in, especially for the youth, not to, it's a conflict between the heart and the brain. You have to use the right one at the right time.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you for coming, really, and presenting. We appreciate it. So I think I heard you guys say that for an MSA, for example, if a student want to have an MSA, CAIR can help them for something like that. How do you guys do that in general?
So one of the first things I would tell the students is to find the other Muslim students at your school and organize them in a lot of ways. And then it would be meeting with your school administration. So we'll kind of like talk through what would it be like to talk to your school administration? How should you talk to them? What should you ask for it? And then if they say no, then have an action plan of what to do next. But the main first step that I would say is find the other Muslim students. And then there's power in number, and then set up a meeting with your school administration, whether it's the principal or whoever heads student programming.
I just wanted to add one strategy that the student can also use is sharing the report that we publish and be like, look, this is a reason why we need an MSA. We need your help, your support, your funding. This is a crisis, and you should help us facilitate it. And then if you're running into issues, CAIR can help with the strategy, talking, communicating.
What information do you have? Like, let's say if a student has like one non-Muslim parent who is discouraging them from like practicing their deen and stuff like that.
So are you talking about like a convert student who's Muslim and then are struggling with their not? Okay, that's a difficult. Do you have yes.
Not to put the imam on the spot, but I would say come visit your local imam to kind of like talk through what an action plan would be. But if in the incidents where it becomes that they are preventing you from practicing your faith, then I would say call our lawyer Barb and then kind of like talk through that. But I would say use your messages and the leadership of your messages and the scholars that you have to be able to come up with a game plan around that. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah khair, mashallah. I like the passion and great work, mashallah. So I'm just curious, like based on your experience, right? As you shared that though 28% or 30% of the students who do not really want to, who hide their identity, right? Was there any pattern, like is it because of the environment or their parents or their upbringings or their friends? And is there any advice, like based on your lesson learned, right? Especially for the parents and everybody else, what we can do to cultivate that identity, so that, going back to your point, like so that we are proud of our identity, right? Especially learning from those kids who actually want to hide their identity.
I think Brother Imam was talking about bringing them to the masjid, connecting them with the youth groups. I think that our programming, our youth programming, is also a way to do that. Our, for example, MYLP, Youth Leadership Program in the summer, we're bringing like 35 Muslim youth together and teaching them how public speaking skills, leadership skills. We're giving them a very unique environment they've never been in before, just Muslim youth, and they're just learning together in this very unique space. I think that these are the experiences, and there's many more, but these are the experiences that will make someone confident about their religion. And yeah.
Just to add to that, I will say if if a student is at a school and they are constantly getting bullied or teased because of their it's not just like any type of teasing, but it's because of the fact that they are Muslim. They are internalizing that, and now they're struggling with their faith and with their Islam. So there needs to be like an antidote to that, where there is an environment that they're in just as consistently. They're at that school every single day for 8 hours. So there needs to be just like an antidote to that environment where their Muslim identity is constantly being lifted up, so that when they are facing bullying or harassment, they can say, I know what my faith is. I know what my Islam is. I am firm in that, and the foundation is there, that there is nothing to push them off. So I will say, support your message as well, and make sure that you're supporting and being present at the youth groups and the initiatives that are happening, and be mentors to those youth. Like when you see a young person at the masjid, talk to them, ask them questions, just to understand what is happening. So I think we all have a part to play, I will say, to be able to, as much of outside stereotypes and negatives that they're facing, there needs to be an even bigger bulldozer, I would say, that is supporting and uplifting their Islam.
We'll take 2 more questions, and then anything after that, you can approach them, or there'll be a booth downstairs. Okay, so was there a sister?
Assalamu alaikum. My question is in relation to the situations where you guys might have had to deal with the schools and administration. How have you felt like their response was overall, like positive, negative, or how did they respond to you guys being there?
Because once they get to the school administration, it goes to our legal department. Even though I'm a lawyer, I am not as hands-on with those cases, but I can tell you that the engagement is mixed. We get mixed reviews. 100% of the time, the families feel more confident and empowered that a CAIR lawyer is helping and talking through and advocating for their family. And very often we're able to make some positive progress in the life of the child and their family, but it's a lot of work. And the other point is that what we didn't get into here is that sometimes students will be disciplined. So you heard about the little girl who struck back after she had been bullied. Some of those discipline cases happen so fast, and the kids are risking expulsion, not always, but suspension, and that happens within days. So it's important for families to know these resources before they need them, because you don't have time to figure it out. And by the time you call our office, tomorrow, the next day is your hearing day. So definitely call us. The other thing that I wanted to make a point of is if you are able to resolve the anti-Muslim sentiment, if you are able to resolve the situation, even without our help, even just looking at our materials and you're able to resolve it, please still call us or send us an email and tell us it happened, because we are the only ones in the state that collect this data. And we have an audience with the Attorney General, the governor, different state representatives, and we bring this data to those conversations. So we don't always just go and fight. If it's resolved, we use the data to share that with them. So I would ask you also to consider looping us in.
I just wanted to add to that you've probably heard a lot of folks saying, you know, when you experience an incident with Islamophobia or any incident of Islamophobia, not just bullying, report it. So right now, what we're seeing, which I'm sure all of you know about, is that the other side is reporting every single thing as anti-Semitism, right? They're reporting every single thing. So when the Attorney General's office, when the governor here, anti-Semitism is doubled, but nothing is really happening to Islamophobia. There's no really increase in Islamophobia because Muslims aren't reporting it. That means they care less about our needs. They care less about supporting us, and they have less empathy for the Muslims and those who are a part of this ummah. So this is why it's important to report, because otherwise, what the other side is reporting, and we're just being neglected when we're the ones who are really facing a poor situation.
Last question. Brother Farhan.
Mind briefly just talking through, I was just curious, how many of the youth do you actually see aspiring to be lawyers, especially in the civil liberties kind of a situation? Do we know?
Well, I think we have at least 60 people registered for the event. I think so. Yeah, 60.
I will also say, I can't say this is how exactly it came about, but I remember Maryam, who is our attorney, who's going to be holding that event. She hadn't even fully started at CAIR yet, but she had came to visit our Muslim Youth Leadership Program, and all the students literally were like, I want to talk to her. How did you get there? What do I need to do? What does it mean to be a Muslim lawyer? And all those questions that people were asking her kind of made her also want to be able to host an event like this, because people are also, we need more Muslim lawyers. So also it's my propaganda. I was like, everybody needs to know. I feel like whether it's civil rights law or all the other laws that, see, I don't even know. I need to be at that event myself. So I think it's really important to be able to figure out what is out there and what role can Muslims play in all of these different fields.
Jazakumullah khairan for coming. We appreciate your presence here. We'll just wrap it up with a dua, inshallah. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal that He protect our communities. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal that He protect our youth, that He give them firm conviction, that He gives them thabat and istiqamah, that He gives them knowledge, that He provides for them good company, suhba salihah. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal that He makes our masajid places where our programming and our teaching is all a resource for all of them. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal that He accept all of our efforts and that He protect our communities and protect all of our institutions. Wallahu alam wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum. We have a table downstairs with our resources, and if you want to support the work that we do. There's a QR code there as well. So we'll be down there to answer any questions, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.